You are listening to the Oneofus.net podcast network. Okay, so I'm the guy who's never actually seen this before or read this. This was totally new to me. I mean, I think I have this distant memory when I was a kid of seeing 10 Little Indians on stage, but but in general, Agatha Christie, just totally like it.
It's the exact same movie.
Know the name of all the famous movies, never seen any of them. Okay. So this to me, and all these people are like, "You're going to see Murder on the Orient Express?" You don't know who it is? Oh, I can't wait to see what your reaction was. You'll be the only person anyone knows who has no idea who the killer is.
I put a poll. Spoiler. I'm a Michelle Pfeiffer fanboy, so I'm moderator on a fan forum. I put a poll saying who knows the mystery going into this. Like over half the people didn't know.
Okay,
so you're not alone.
Well, I thought you were going to say that you didn't know Michelle Pfeiffer was in this movie.
You have a Michelle Pfeiffer forum?
Yeah.
It's mostly about Batman Returns.
I feel like I learned something new about you.
I didn't start it, but I post on there often enough that just made me a moderator.
How did you find it?
When IMDb closed.
I don't want to know.
No. When IMDb message boards were going to close, they were like, "Oh, we all want to stick together and post stuff about Michelle Pfeiffer. Let's start a forum." And so I just followed. Anyway, let's forget about it.
If you're wondering why I called you here, one of you in this room is a moderator for the Michelle Pfeiffer forum.
It's called La Pfeiffer the Face. Shameless plug. Anyway,
one of you watches Batman Returns a lot.
On the anniversary.
And it's me, by the way, because I love Batman Returns.
It was 25 years this year. Anyway,
all right, so let's get into the actual movie. This is the latest of several adaptations of this Agatha Christie story. In this particular case, Kenneth Branagh is not only taking over the directing reins, which should surprise absolutely no one. I bet you anything he's been cosplaying Hercule Poirot since he was like 10 years old, right? Just knowing Branagh, you're like, doesn't it seem like somebody he's got kind of a hard-on for?
Once he's done with Hamlet, then he switches over to Poirot for a bit.
That was his real mustache. He's been growing that out for years.
And sure enough, yes, he is playing the lead role here in this story where he is the world's most famous detective as he is unafraid to tell anyone who asks.
So this is a Batman movie.
Yeah, he very well could be. A Batman with a Belgian accent and a huge mustache.
Yeah. It's a good Elseworlds, too.
And he wants a vacation. He's just like, every place I go, somebody's like, somebody got murdered, we need you. He's like, I need a break. He's like a very OCD type of guy. He's like, I just like things to be perfect. But of course, something comes along like, here's the deal. Like, we'll get you to this thing so you can deal with this case, but it involves a luxury-filled ride on the Orient Express. 3 days, you don't have to worry about anything and be totally pampered. And what happens? Somebody gets murdered.
Murder.
So it's one of those, and then the train stops from an avalanche, and so they're stuck there, and they're like, okay, well, no one can leave the train. It has to be this group of people, which is, of course, a sizable group of actors here. And he's going to go interview them all until he finds out who is the person who committed the murder.
Who done it?
Assuming no other murders happened along the way. And you have a big cast here of Penelope Cruz, Willem Dafoe, Judi Dench, Johnny Depp, Josh Gad, Derek Jacoby, who's not looking real good. I'm a little scared for Derek Jacoby. Leslie Odom Jr., Michelle Pfeiffer, Daisy Ridley, Marwan Kenzari, Olivia Colman, Lucy Boynton, Manuel Garcia Rolfo, Sergei Palunin, Tom Bateman, and Miranda Raison.
Well done on there.
Nice
job.
And, this is not trying to reinvent the wheel here in terms of this period type of murder mystery stuff. It's, as someone pointed out after that we were talking to afterwards, British guys, I felt like I would have liked this better if it was the BBC Christmas Day special
was it John?
movie.
Yeah, of course it was John.
Sitting in front of a fireplace with hot chocolate, some whiskey.
Eating something Christmassy. I don't know.
I think it was definitely more suited for television.
Yeah, it was it didn't feel like there was a lot of I'm trying to make this feel really new.
I feel really bad for someone who has to see this on television for the first time because I loved all those wide shots. They've got that those David Lean sort of shots of the train and the scope of it, and it was very rich in that. And
I felt like a lot of those shots were ruined by the fact that it looked like an old PS2 game, though, for a lot of its effects. Because a lot of the effects, I felt like an old CDR game where it was here's the the quick like live action cutscene that happens while there's like the
were
really
you
terrible
pointing
graphics in the back. I basically was. Yeah, it felt like an Ace Attorney game.
Just trying to skip through the cutscenes like you do in video games.
And you're like, let's just get to who did it already. God damn it!
Yeah, I just got to click all around the screen until something lights up.
That's basically what it felt like. But yeah, but no, like I think I liked it a little more than some of you guys did personally. But I like. You guys were mentioning after the movie that the pacing was a little slow for a lot of you guys, but I didn't have an issue with that at all.
I thought it was a hair fast, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But then I'm in the minority because I am an Agatha Christie fan and I do like the original film, which is very Sidney Lumet drawn out.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just felt like, as someone who totally knew it, felt like it was really trying to be a classical period film more than anything. In fact, the times they were trying to do cool cinematography felt a little, I don't know, desperate. Like, It was like, we're on a train. we're like, there are all these weird shots, like from above in these like corridors and and points where they're like trying to pan the camera up with like a crane and stuff, and you're like, there's very few opportunities to get great shots on a train.
Yeah, that's true. I was with you there the first time when they're standing outside Johnny Depp's compartment. I was like, are we really still looking at your heads? Let's move somewhere else now.
You're right in sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
I was going to say you're right in that it doesn't reinvent the wheel because I was like you. I didn't know the story, didn't know the ending. About halfway through, I felt like I'd figured it out because I'd seen a number of different TV shows, specifically different crime procedurals that have had episodes that were clearly based on something like this, where it's like, oh, I bet I know what happens. And then, sure enough.
I'm just trying to... my main basis of figuring it out is comparing it to Clue. I'm just going, wait a minute, which one of the endings is this?
Why does none of these people Tim Curry?
That is always a valid question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tim Curry.
I'm not that... I tend to go with detective stuff. I like the really hard-nosed, heavy-drinking detectives, the very Jim Thompson, Philip Marlowe type detectives. Or I like the stuff that's parodies of this type of thing.
Murder by Death?
Yeah, Murder by Death, Clue, what have you. But I found the actual product when put out always seems kind of laughable to me. Like, I'm watching this, there's so many points, I realize it's not supposed to be funny, but it's just so stupid, it's kind of funny. And I'm like, but everybody loves this. I was like, yeah, but it's still kind of dumb. And so, especially the ending, I was like, that is really implausible and stupid.
You know what? The only problem I really have with this was the script.
Yeah.
I really did not care for the script. The guy that wrote it also wrote
Michael
Logan.
Green.
He wrote Logan and he wrote the new Blade Runner.
Yeah.
So I was expecting the script to be there, but it stumbled so many times.
I mean, it's at its best when Poirot is being flawed and weird.
Yeah.
Like when it's showing his eccentricities and his oddities.
Yeah.
But even so, there are these points where, the points that in any other thing like this, usually where he goes from like, oh no, it's just a casual little question, to accusatory, were just kind of laughable and ridiculous.
Well, that's like Branagh also, like his like theater, instincts come. Like he's like his grandness as an actor. I felt was like, he can't help himself. Damn it, he can't.
The acting was really incredible in this film. I mean, they really did have a great list of actors, and I think that they all brought it. I don't think anyone was, bad in the movie. I mean, even
I think there was one person I didn't kind of care for, but he dies pretty early on.
He's known for his broad caricature performances.
Yeah. No spoilers. But even Willem Dafoe, I thought was... Yeah. He was magical.
I thought he was great for the short period of time that he was on screen.
Anybody else have the thing with Daisy Ridley where I forgot she was in this? And
I
so
totally forgot
going,
until I saw the list.
I know who this actress is.
Really?
But I have no idea who this actress is.
It's in the eyes,
I'm just looking right at her going, I know it's going to kill me when I see who it is.
It's surprising
I
to me.
know it, but...
She has one of those faces for me that I would have recognized right away, so I did. So
yeah,
I didn't.
No, that scene when
you guys win.
That moment, it is a good group of
with
actors.
her, sometimes you always have to go Keira Knightley. No,
yes, thank you very much.
Apparently, I'm the only one who doesn't have to think that. Apparently,
no,
there's
totally
still differences, but she does doing Keira Knightley in this a little bit.
A little bit. That's apparently a thing for whoever cast Star Wars. It's just we need people who look kind of like Natalie Portman, but kind of like Keira Knightley, who was originally cast as the double for Natalie Portman. Portman. So there you
Wow.
go.
It's true though.
I didn't know that.
Today.
Yeah,
Really?
she's in the movie when they have the person who's posing as the queen.
This is my decoy.
That's Keira Knightley.
No shit.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, apparently on set they couldn't tell each other apart.
Right?
But I mean, with this many good actors in here, it is a little sad that not everybody gets a chance to really shine. Like I was a little disappointed. Penelope Cruz isn't really given a lot to do.
But when that moment though, she milks it like that. Which I would not lie.
I mean,
I would not lie.
I think
I was like, I love it.
Surprisingly, I thought Josh Gad was the one who gave the best here.
Josh Gad gave his all, absolutely.
Yeah, he's like really remarkable. And early on in the film, he gets his chance to really shine, and you're like, damn, dude, you're fucking good.
Yeah,
Which shouldn't surprise anyone now. Every time I see him in anything, he's often the high point of things that are often just okay.
He kind of seems to be the one guy in Hollywood. It's like you're the one guy who has permission to like take this way over the top, and everybody's just going to be okay with it.
Yeah,
Like,
it's true, but he never goes too far.
Yeah.
He always knows when to stop past to under satire or parody, being absurd. Also, Olivia Colman, who is one of the most beloved actresses in England right now. I mean, she's in every fucking thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Is given nothing to do.
The new queen in the crown has like 5 lines here.
Yeah, exactly. But you get a cast this big, I guess there's and especially when, seems to be based pretty damn closely on the original story. I mean, as far as I've been told, there's very little,
It's pretty faithful.
Very little change from the original thing. Makes you wonder, is that just because they go, well, this is so pure and perfect and held up to such high regard that to do anything to change it would be wrong?
Well, I mean,
I feel it was more budget.
well, also the novel. I mean, each chapter is like its own interview, and it's like 5 pages long. And
Should
so
have done it on a plane.
to just like
Snakes.
Yeah. We're writing this for tomorrow.
Okay.
And then in the end, it's not who it was, but it's aliens.
Okay.
probably
I still think it would have been a better ending with the Predator as the person.
It'll probably be a better script than this
And
one.
Poirot is actually an alien hunter.
Yes.
You don't know till the end that he's actually this badass space alien hunter.
I like the snarkiness.
There's a lot of snark in this movie.
Because a lot, like the David Suchet Poirot, which is like everyone's favorite, was not funny. And Poirot was a funny character. He was written funny. And this is like one of the first times that he was actually...
As written.
I felt like he was channeling. Now I'm blanking on his name all of a sudden. The guy from Inglourious Bastards.
Christoph Waltz.
Yes.
Waltz.
I don't know why I'm blanking
Who
on
would
his
make a great Poirot?
I felt like he was channeling
Now I'm
because,
disappointed that he was.
especially in the scene when he switched from French to German, like he does in Inglourious Bastards. I was like, that's who you remind me of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Why didn't
Yeah,
you cast
that could work.
Christoph Waltz now?
Because he's the director.
I mean, I think Branagh has a good time. He chews up the scenery, but not so much in that he falls into the realm of being completely unreal. But it gets close at points.
Him laughing at Tale of the Two Cities had me. I was like,
I know,
could not stop laughing at that.
I feel like he's playing it at such a height, and no one else really is. They're all, except possibly a little bit of Josh Gad, and obviously Johnny Depp to some extent, although Johnny Depp is clearly doing his best to rein it in.
Well, you know what?
But I'm kind of like, he's such a huge personality, and everybody else really isn't that big of a personality.
Well, they're the only two that really don't have to, character-wise, can afford to play it that way. Everyone else is trying to conceal something.
I feel like I want to see a version of this that is definitely leaning much more towards the comedic side. You know what I mean? Like, where it's like, let's push the comedy level of them, where everybody is kind of has that much more of an absurd degree of their personality, or they do more funny stuff. I'm like, I
feel like that's just Clue,
that
though.
more, because a lot of this felt
Clue.
very dry. Like, okay, it's just a series of interviews with people, and
This is the lightest version of the story.
Oh, yeah,
That's
that's
why.
I guess I'm not going to like the other versions. Though.
Yeah.
No, you probably wouldn't.
I thought there was like a lot of really great comedic moments. I mean, they definitely tried to lighten it up. Otherwise, it would have
got
just
levity,
been so boring. You know?
Yeah.
Well, with the mixture of the pacing and everything, I feel like the comedy definitely made some people be able to go through the movie.
Yeah, it
without
made
having
it
so many
bearable.
issues,
Otherwise, I would have been like, seriously, like falling asleep.
It really did help with that. Like, I had forgot what the ending within this movie was until like midway through it, and so I spent a chunk of it trying to figure out who did it as well, kind of thing. So that's what kept me going through chunks of it. But it's one of those things. As soon as I figured it out, it's like, oh well, now all I have to focus on is these PS2 graphics every time they go outside of the train and kind of thing. So it's like, fuck.
So I gotta ask you, Frank, as someone who's read the book and seen the other versions, so the opening sequence here, which takes place outside the Wailing Wall, where he's, the end of his previous mystery, is that from the book?
No, that was just to build up. Well, I don't remember if it's from the book. It's definitely not in the other versions.
Okay,
so that's just to introduce the character for people that don't know Poirot.
That whole sequence had these touches of it feels like that's not something that would have happened or been said. Like things people talking that seem out of time. Like he does this whole thing that in my head where it's like the three suspects are an imam, a priest, and a rabbi, and then he goes to walks into a bar joke, and I'm like, were they telling that joke in 1931?
They absolutely were, because racist jokes came from somewhere.
It came from this mediocre script.
And the whole thing, he sets his cane in the wall, because he knows the guy will run back this way and clothesline himself on it. And I was like, I don't think that would happen.
That's like a Sherlock Holmes move. That's not a Poirot move.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know either way.
Well, technically, Sherlock Holmes was indeed, and I'm going to say for the billionth time, Sherlock Holmes was a fighter. So stop bitching. He was a boxer in the books.
I've never once said anything.
Anyway, sorry, I'm still hung up on that. All the people who talk shit about the Sherlock Holmes movies, which are just okay, but they get mad at him fighting a bunch of people. It's like, he did fight a bunch of people. That was in character.
Yeah. That's how he survived.
Do a lot of Guy Ritchie for,
Which is to say that Poirot is not a fighter.
No, he's
in fact,
not.
He gets his ass kicked the moment someone breathes
too gentlemanly or
Man, I want to talk so much more about this movie, but there's so many things that would just spoil it.
Yeah, you can't give away that.
No.
People who want to go into this, and you want to go into this as unsullied as possible because it is one of those classic level whodunit.
Absolutely.
And so, if that's your type of thing, and you've never seen this before, which if it is your type of thing, I don't know how you could have not, but then you want to put the pieces together for yourself.
Some people are newer viewers, kind of thing, where they only watch what comes out now instead of what happened before.
And then also you got people that want to see another version of Hamlet because they like Hamlets.
Yeah. Well, that's the Bard. That's part of the whole thing. Is the reinterpretation of his works has been going on for centuries, over and over and over.
Well, this is too. They're relaunching the estate. Her estate is relaunching the brand, so they got. I don't know if it's still happening, but Affleck's supposed to do Witness for the Prosecution, which is another famous Christie movie.
Okay.
And
you would think Murder on the Nile is next from the
Death
way
on the Nile,
Death on the Nile from the way this thing wraps up. Yeah, it's like he does everything but turn to the camera and go, "I'll see you in 2 years." All right, let's go to final thoughts. Michael, why don't you get us started in your spiffy Spider-Man hoodie there?
So overall, I thought the movie was fine. Actually, I thought it was a pretty good adaptation of the story. I have seen the Connery one maybe once, and I don't remember it that well, other than Connery.
Wait,
he wasn't Poirot, was he?
No, he was Arbuthnot.
I can't picture. Can you imagine him trying to do a Belgian accent?
Oh, God.
I've seen him speak Japanese. So I've seen this. We've seen the man speak Japanese. He can do whatever he wants. He was a Spaniard, for Christ's sakes, at one point.
So playing a Spaniard, playing a Scottish man.
Exactly. So, I digress. But so the movie itself, I thought was perfectly fine. The pacing wasn't too bad. The comedy really does help with the pacing quite a bit. Everyone does act really well in this movie. Some people are given more to do than others. I feel like Dafoe didn't have that much to do, but when he did, he did pretty well as well. The actual mystery itself, if you don't actually know the actual mystery, the Murder on the Orient Express, it's actually a fun little time for or I think it would be at least. I'm a big fan of mysteries in general, so I enjoyed this film probably a little more than most would. I myself would give it 8.5 out of 10 failed attempts at a point-and-click adventure game.
JC?
If you like the crime procedurals on TV, this will be right up your alley. I don't necessarily like that experience in a theatrical movie experience. From the trailer, I knew it was going to be a whodunit and kind of a lot of interviews and things like that, and fairly slow paced. The trailer did make it seem like there would be a bit more actiony, to it. So I was expecting that. So I was a little bit thrown off by that. But I mean, beyond that, if this sort of thing is what you're into, I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised. All the performances are really great. And Kenneth Branagh is a really solid director. He doesn't have very many missteps. So I mean, I think anytime you're going to see, yeah,
Oh, come on, that had its moments.
very many. So yeah, anything he's directing, I think, is going to be really solid, and I'm usually up for it. I would give this 6.5 times out of 10. I just wanted somebody to go Jacques Hughes,
Right?
The original on the Orient Express. It's one of my favorite movies, actually, and because of that reason, I thought this one just went by at such a fast speed. Like, okay, now we're here, and now we're here, and now we're here. But then that's just my thing. The only really big problem I had was the script. I didn't think it was there, and it should have been there. I think it's a really strong first draft, and that's sad. But it did have moments of humor. It did have some solid moments of drama. But, like Johnny Depp and Michelle Pfeiffer have a really great scene together. And then later on, when she has a big character moment, I'm thinking, why doesn't she have better things to say? Mm-hmm. So, it's just, what are you going to do? But the story is there. And, the original film is one of the only films that will make me cry. That and Poltergeist. But, yes.
Okay.
Poltergeist makes me cry. Yeah. But
wait, when in Poltergeist do you cry?
I'm not curious.
You moved the headstones, didn't you?
Well, that kind of does cheer me up because it's just like the lack of humanity, and that makes me cry. But no, when the mother's like, she passed through my soul, I thought, just the mother weeping for her child that she doesn't know where she is, Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
But this one makes me cry because of the ending and the purpose, the killer's purpose, and what they, I'm not gonna say he or she get from it. It's really, it can't help but get to my emotional core, and I think that's Christie, and that's not Branagh, that's not this dreadful script, that's Christie, and that's still there. It's a beautiful film, great performances, and it's hugely entertaining, this movie. So apart from the script, I've got to give it maybe like 8.5 really decadent looking cakes.
Patience.
I'm actually a really big fan of mysteries, and I do like the crime procedural shows. Like, that's pretty much all I watch on television. Yeah. It's like, I have Law & Order basically on background. Law & Order, or like Forensic Files or some, shit like that. So I'm really into it. I knew going into this film that it was going to drag. Like, I just knew it was going to be one of those films that was going to take a really long time to get to the point, and I felt like it still just maybe a smidge dragged even a little bit more than I was anticipating. There's some great comedic moments, like you guys said, that help you get through those more, boring type episodes. The acting is great. One thing I would definitely like to say is the costuming was absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. Their clothes were so beautiful. Everything had so much beautiful detail to it. I agree that this is definitely something I would have rather watched on BBC on Christmas Day than in the movie theater. That being said, my mom's going to love the shit out of this movie because this is like right up her alley. It's like nothing surprising or gory or shocking and just really good acting, and I don't know.
It's escapism.
Yeah.
I say that mustache was shocking.
Yeah, that mustache, though.
Yeah, he was either going to be a detective or a bartender. There was no other job available.
Or an old-timey boxer.
Old-timey boxer.
Yeah, an old-timey strongman, yeah.
Agatha Christie was apparently very upset at all the versions of Poirot that they had the tiny-ass mustaches, and she created him with, like, what she called the finest, biggest mustache in England, and so they were actually paying homage to her original vision.
It's got, 3 tiers to it.
Yeah,
it
actually has an elevator.
Yeah, totally.
Overall, I'm going to give it 6.5 soft-boiled eggs out of 10.
So for me, like I said, and this is just on me, like a detective has a drinking problem. End of story. You're a detective. Your life sucks. It's misery. So you can't not drink.
Not Harriet the Spy.
Any woman you get the slightest amount of feelings for is inevitably involved in the crimes that you are investigating in some way if she's not the killer herself. That's a murder mystery to me. I don't know what the fuck Poirot is. I'm just like, he's so effete, and he's wait, your biggest flaw is that you're super OCD? Lame.
You must have hated Monk then.
I really wasn't a big fan of that type of detective. It's not as much my
Lord
thing.
Monk.
I mean, with the one exception
Monk a
being
lot.
Veronica Mars.
Oh my God,
Sorry.
Veronica
I will
Mars.
also accept
Yeah.
Nancy Drew analogs. So
Okay.
but
Charity at the Spy.
But yeah, above and beyond being silly, yeah, this is fine. It's just it felt much more like a TV movie to me than anything else. I mean, a good one, but it did feel like that, and it didn't feel like it added a lot to the. Why would you watch this instead of one of the other versions that's already out there? Not because they're like, because kids don't watch old movies. That's a lame reason.
I think that's why they put all the actors that they did.
If kids don't watch old movies, then why would the branding make the slightest amount of difference?
I mean, honestly, like, even, with the exception of Daisy Ridley, these are all, like, older, established actors.
Josh Gad.
And Josh Gad. So, I mean, like, these are all people that are going to... I think this is an old person's movie.
Yeah, I think it is, too.
really just think this is,
this is a Thanksgiving. This is a go watch with your family on Thanksgiving weekend type movie. It's just like
This is the
everybody
counter
can watch.
programming of the month, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you get either this or Daddy's Home, too.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
this
Yeah,
weekend.
that's
And
so
what are you
it's
going
like-
to tell your mother to watch? Daddy's Home too, really?
Why
would you do that to your poor mother?
God damn it.
Yeah, everybody
you should
else
see
is
Thor again.
everybody else is going back to see Thor again. So you might as well. Your dad's like, I don't want to see that again. I'm going to go see Murder on the Orient.
You know what would have been a great twist if Chris Hemsworth was directing this instead of Kenneth Branagh.
Thor is the murderer. See, now we're writing the movie I want to see. Yeah, but it's okay.
With snakes and aliens.
Alien snakes.
I wish I had liked it better. Like, I really did. And I think part of it is that, like, I feel like the material itself hasn't aged that well. When it got to the said end, the reasonings why the solution is the way it is, I was like, yes, that is actually kind of touching in the way it dealt with it. But when it's the initial reveal, I was like, I'm having a really hard time believing that was plausible. I go, I don't see how that could have happened. And there's other questions I have, like, why would this one character voluntarily present evidence? I'm just like, why would they even do that? There's no reason to do that at all. Like, there's a lot of stuff like that along the way. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
There are reasons for certain things, but like I said, I can't say anything without ruining
What
anything.
good reasons,
To
though.
throw him off.
We don't want to ruin the story, Frank.
throw Poirot off a trail.
Outthink him by giving him more.
Let's outthink the
evidence.
greatest detective in the world.
That's the best way to screw with somebody. Just keep throwing cards at them when they're trying to count.
And did they shit themselves when they realized Poirot was going to be on their train during this big whole thing that's going to
We're just revealing more things as we talk. What's
Sorry.
happening here?
Okay, we should shut up now.
But anyway, yeah, I give this 5.5 out of 10 missing buttons. I can see why I know a lot of people who will love this. I just wasn't one of them. It's fine. It's fine. Faint praise, I know, but there you go.
You're just mad you can't grow a mustache like that.
And the next mystery will be who killed Michael.
Everyone knows it was Frank.
Oneofus.net has been your one-stop shop for all things geek for years. But there's a side to them many of you have never heard. The subscription side. Subscribe and listen to great podcasts like The Breakfast Pub, The Original Gentleman, and the Watch a Movie With Us series. Head on over to oneofus.net and don't forget your towel.